Good evening. It is Tuesday, February 21st, 2023 at 6:01, and we'd like to begin the Howell Township Council meeting. May I call the meeting to order? Opening.
This meeting is being held in accordance with Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, Open Public Meetings Act. Adequate notice has been provided by transmitting this notice of this meeting to the Asbury Park Press and the Star Ledger, by posting it on the bulletin board reserved for such announcements in the Township Municipal Building, and by filing it with the Municipal Clerk on January 6, 2023. The agenda is complete to the extent known, and formal action will be taken. I'll begin with a roll call. Councilwoman Fisher.
Here.
Thank you. Councilman Gager.
Here.
Councilman Nadell.
Present.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell.
Here.
Mayor Berger.
Present.
Thank you.
Mr. Clark, is there any reason to go into executive session?
Yes, we have a couple topics to discuss that are covered by contracts and the attorney-client privilege.
Okay. May I have a motion to go into executive?
Motion for executive session?
Second?
Councilwoman Fisher.
Yes.
Councilman Gager.
Yes.
Councilman Nadell.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell.
Yes.
Mayor Berger.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right.
Good evening, everyone. I don't have to squint anymore. Does everybody like our new clock? We could all... I don't even need my glasses to see it. It's 7:01, and I would like to begin the regular session of the February 21st, 2023 Howell Council meeting. If we can please stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. And it marks a year that Ukraine has been in this war. So for all of the fallen soldiers around the world, let's pray for them.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call.
Councilwoman Fisher.
Here.
Councilman Gager.
Here.
Councilman Nadell.
Present.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell.
Here.
Mayor Berger.
Present. We have a proclamation. Council, if we can go up, and Councilwoman, can you read the proclamation?
Good evening. Tonight we're especially proud to share a proclamation for Dante Dan Massa, Deputy Mayor, Police Commissioner, responsible for helping to bring a police department to our community, responsible with Congressman Howard for a zip code for Howell, Lifetime Achievement winner, Man of the Year winner, worked with the Board of Ed, huge contributor with his time and efforts to the Chamber of Commerce. His biggest contribution, I'm sure, is to his wife and his 3 children. I see his family here tonight. He certainly, and I said this previously, he leaves a footprint in Howell that's very hard to understand, how somebody can give over 20 years of their life in this capacity, and yet I don't know of one person in this community that can ever tell me that Dan Massa said, I did this, or I did that, because that's not the way Dan ruled. That's not the way Dan gave his time in Howell. So if his family would come up and join us, we'd be honored. And Councilwoman Sue Fisher would like to read the proclamation while we present.
Whereas Dante Dan Massa was born on June 25, 1937, at Englewood Hospital. In 1958, he met the woman of his dreams, Catherine K. Clary. They were married on June 25, 1960. And whereas in 1966, Dan and Kay moved to Howell Township to start a new life and raise their 3 sons, Dante, Michael, and Craig. Dan and Kay continued to live in Howell for 56 years. And whereas Dan's love of people led him to careers in small business, auto sales, and real estate sales with both Prudential and Weichert in Howell. And whereas it was Dan's love for community service that enticed him to run for and win a seat on the Howell Township Committee in 1970, Dan then ran for and served as mayor in 1973 and again in 1988. And whereas over his 21-year career in Howell politics, Dan served as mayor, deputy mayor, police commissioner. He was instrumental in the formation of the Howell Police Department. And whereas Dan also served on the Howell Township Planning Board and Recreation Committee and engaged in many other public service roles throughout his life. And whereas Dan helped, along with the Township Committee and Congressman Jim Howard, to convince the United States Postal Service to give Howell its own zip code. And whereas Dan was the founder of the Help Our Kids organization, who named him Man of the Year in 1989. And whereas in 2008, Dan was honored by the Howell Chamber of Commerce with the Lifetime Achievement Award. In 2014, he was honored with another Lifetime Achievement Award by the Howell Township Education Foundation. And whereas Dan was co-owner of the Booster News for many years, and his column Here's Danny brought joy to many who read it. And whereas Dan was a beloved husband, father, brother, uncle, and a reliable friend, he will be especially remembered for his favorite role as grandpa to his 5 grandchildren, Courtney, Nicole, Liliana, Jack, and Ellie, plus the newest addition to the family, great-grandson Bennett. And whereas Dan's legacy will live on not only through his family, but also in the impression he left upon the township itself. His hard work, dedication, and service to others will be forever remembered and appreciated, not only by those who knew him, but also in the future generations that benefit from his service and foresight. And whereas Cicero once said, "Not for ourselves alone are we born," Dan Massa's life serves as a reminder of the importance of a life dedicated to family and giving. Now, therefore, let it be known and proclaimed that the governing body of the Township of Howell extend its deepest condolences to the family of Dante Dan Massa upon his passing. And let it be further known and proclaimed that the governing body of the Township of Howell honors and acknowledges the work of Dante Dan Massa and appreciates all he did for this township throughout his lifetime. Thank you so much. So sorry.
Let's take a picture first. Thank you. We'll have to get all of you in here. Put some people on this side.
Ready? 1, 2, 3, cheese. One more time. Okay. Thank you. Yes, please.
Thank you. Yeah, go box thing. Which way should I go? Come on this side. Excellent, thank you. Thank you, Mayor Berger and Deputy Mayor O'Donnell and the rest of the Township Committee for honoring my father Dan this evening with this proclamation. My father truly loved this town, and so did our entire family. My mom and dad moved from Bergen County in 1966 to the Candlewood section of Howell when he was 29 years old, and he lived in the same house for 56 years until passing on January 26th. When my dad told the extended family we were moving to Howell, looking for open space and fresh air, many families up north thought we were moving out of state since they never heard of the town before. After all, in 1966, Howell's population was only 15,000 people, Route 9 was only 2-lane road, and we had far more farms than shopping centers. 2 sets of grandparents, my aunt and uncle, and my amazing cousins were only a bike ride away, which made the transition to Howell an amazing experience. I'd like to thank my Aunt Shirley, my cousins Patty and Mary for being here tonight. With 3 young boys under 9, my dad wanted to make a difference and help contribute to the town where he would raise his family. In 1970, Dad ran for Township Committee, and surprisingly, he won. becoming deputy mayor, police commissioner, eventually mayor, later becoming mayor in 1988, before leaving the political scene in 1992. One of his greatest joys as mayor was the opportunity to marry couples, always wondering if the couples were still together today, and praying that the civil ceremony vows were actually legitimate. While many of the large accomplishments were shared in the proclamation, thank you for this evening, there were other accomplishments during his 22-year tenure in and around politics. Dad helped organize the first Howell Day, the Senior Citizens Club, and was instrumental in raising funds for the lights at the Howell High School football field in late 1980s. I was touched by a story that was told to me by a woman at a trade show years ago. She told me that 30 years prior, while on a class trip to the town hall, which I believe was on Preventorium Road, she passed out in front of her classmates. When she came to, my father was holding her head and was giving her water on the town hall floor. The teacher later told her, "That was the mayor that helped you," and it was obviously something she never forgot. It's a reminder for all of us that while big accomplishments get all of the notoriety, it's the little things we do every day that make the biggest impact on somebody's life, even on a stranger. My father loved this town so much, he even pushed my brother Craig to marry his wife Wendy, whose last name is Howell. Dad also worked as a real estate agent in the 90s and 2000s, and his love for this great town did not diminish. He loved showing homes to young couples, but only after giving them a tour of the entire town, from Adelphia to Ramtown and everywhere in between, talking about Howell's history and why it was a great place to raise a family. My father would be very proud to be honored in this way, and I would like to give a special thank you to Council Member Susan Fisher, Deputy Mayor O'Donnell, and our good friends Rick Ferreira and Sarah Andreev for their recommendations to remember my dad in this way. Thank you very much.
May I have a motion to accept the minutes for February 7?
Motion to accept the minutes?
I'll second.
Councilwoman Fisher.
Yes.
Councilman Gager.
Yes.
Councilman Nadell.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell.
Yes.
And Mayor Berger.
I was at that meeting. No,
Then
so I
abstain.
abstain.
Thank you.
We're going to do the reports at the end like we talked about, or we want to do it now?
So the reports of like the township departments we can do
Yes.
now, and then you guys will do it at
Perfect.
the end.
That's perfect. So, Mr. Clark?
I just have a short one today. The county is finalizing their purchase of the development easement for the Linney Farm. This is off of 5 Points Road, 22 5 Points Road. There's a single-family house that has a 1-acre exception area. It's about 26-acre parcel that extends behind some houses on Peter Foreman Drive towards the freehold border. So it's just north of 33, west side of 5 Points Road, 26 acres. The county is purchasing the development rights. The township, through various resolutions and ordinances in the past, has performed a cost sharing with the county. Our portion came to about $100,000, but we're part of preserving 26 acres in Howell. So I think that's great news, and that's what I have for today.
Thank you.
Okay, for myself, very quickly, we are going to begin expanding the available parking at Echo Lake shortly. There is in front of the existing parking, there's a place where we're going to be laying down some bluestone that'll expand the parking to accommodate a number of more cars, somewhere around 2030. So underutilized resource, and we're hoping to encourage more use that way. Our stage trailer, we just ordered some,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, sure.
Can people from the town just rent that space if they wanted to have a party or something?
Sure. There's some requirements that we have, but yeah, it's open and available for rental. We typically will require insurance to be provided, so, from a homeowner's policy, stuff like that. It's an easy lift, and we're more than willing to work with anybody.
Is that on the website?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. The stage trailer, so we're going to have that repaired. We just finished ordering the panels, so that's going to go in the garage at DBW, and they will begin working on it. And finally, AEDs in the parks. We have some quotes from a number of sources. We're going to be looking to finalize that relatively shortly. So the big thing is where we're going to put them. We'll probably put them in our active parks, Soldier Memorial, Oak Glen, Deerwood. And we have to try and figure out a way to keep the AED safe. I think there are alarmed cabinets, so we're going to look into that as well, but we're moving forward with it. And that is it.
Thank you. Caitlin?
No updates for legal.
Diane, do you have anything?
Nothing, thank you.
Okay. So let's go to the hearing of citizens and public comment on the consent agenda and on the general.
Excuse me, Mayor Berger, Krista Riddle would like to make a statement.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. No worries. I don't know if I should face you guys or there, but
That way.
that way. Okay, good evening. Okay, so as many of you know, I'm Howell Alliance Coordinator. So I handle substance use prevention and mental health awareness for the town. So I just want to kind of give an update on some of the things our youth are facing today, and then update the community on our opioid settlement agreement funds spending to date. So our youth today are facing unprecedented substance use and mental health challenges at younger and younger ages. A few examples of this are drug cartels directly or on social media, such as Snapchat. They pose as other youth selling prescription drugs, when in fact they're actually fake pressed pills, many of which are laced with fentanyl. Last year, a father went in to wake up his son, who he left studying at his desk. He was 17 years old, and he had gotten one of these pills on Snapchat and was actually dead, not sleeping. He had died of a fentanyl overdose. So it's becoming more and more common, and for younger ages. First age of substance use and mental health crisis is dropping to younger ages. The teen female suicide rate as well is dropping to lower ages, with 1 in 3 high school girls saying they have seriously considered suicide, and 22% of high schoolers surveyed saying they have seriously considered suicide. Also, girls were also more frequently bullied. As we know from about 2 weeks ago, the girl, the 14-year-old in Bayville, who was bullied and attacked in school, she had died by suicide a few days later. There has been an increase in youth overdosing on over-the-counter pain relievers, such as Tylenol and Advil, and that's affecting as young as 10 years old, maybe even younger. Fentanyl has also been found in THC e-cigarettes. So last month, a New Rochelle high schooler was vaping in school what he believed to be THC, and there was fentanyl in it. Fortunately, the school had Narcan, and the nurse was aware of the signs of an overdose, an opioid overdose, and she saved his life. Marijuana edibles have led to a severe increase in calls to poison control centers for abuse and misuse of cannabis products in Americans ages 6 to 18. It's gone from 510 cases in 2000 to 1,761 cases in 2020, and we're at a higher number, I am sure, now. And it's just the packaging. Kids cannot differentiate, and often adults as well, if it's something with THC in it, and if it's left out, the kids are bringing it to school or consuming it. High-potency marijuana products that are up to 99% THC and more frequent marijuana use are leading to cannabis use disorder and cannabis-induced psychoses, particularly in young people. That's their choice. Although it's legal for 21 and over, young people are consuming, THC products, and they're going for the higher potency that they are vaping. So that is due to legalization, social acceptance, and increased adult use and access. When we have all of that going on, there's a lowered risk perception for youth and then increased use. So to move on, that segues into how we have been spending our opioid settlement agreement funds. So to date, we have $72,754. We joined in on the state settlement in 2020, which is holding pharmaceutical supply chain participants accountable for their part in the opioid epidemic. So we joined the state and many municipalities and counties in receiving the funds. With the state of New Jersey and participating counties, there will be a total of 18 years of payments for the main agreement, 11 years of payments for Janssen agreement, and then there's other settlement payments still coming in. There was one recently for CVS, Walmart, Walgreens, Target, and somebody else. So we have no idea as to our full total that it will be because they keep coming in as more lawsuits settle. So the monies will be kept in a grant account and all spending is tracked. Municipalities will report to the county our spending annually on the state fiscal year. And all money spent must comply with the terms set forth in the memorandum of agreement between the state of New Jersey and local governments on opioid litigation recoveries, which I have if anybody is interested in seeing that. But anyway, our strategic plan in Howell is to provide benefit to all populations in the Howell community impacted by opioid misuse and abuse. So from preschoolers through to seniors with opioid misuse and abuse prevention programs. So we're focusing on prevention. We're partnering with the police department to best serve youth and the community at large. And we are partnering with the Howell Public Schools K-8, which I can now say pre-K to 8, and Howell High School to reach students ages preschool through high school. Without the schools, we cannot get to the parents. It's nearly impossible. So that's our segue into the family and the parents. So we're partnering also with community organizations and members to implement in-house substance use prevention and mental health support programs, which I'm just going to discuss in a minute. And they're tailored to our specific community needs. So projects we've already completed with the funding, we've installed 5 additional Narcan kits and 7 additional vape detectors in Howell High School. The wiring is complete for the vape detectors. They're just on back order. So as soon as they come in, they'll be up and ready. So I think they had 4 that were working. So we have 7 more there. And then what happens is the administration gets an alert when someone's vaping or tampering with the vape detector. And this way, if there was an overdose situation or even vaping and the nicotine addiction, they can provide youth with resources. Howell Police Department, we supplied our school resource officers and SLEO 3s, who are the officers in the schools. They all have Narcan kits with belt holders now. So they have easy access to that at any time during the school day for an immediate response for the protection of staff, parents, and anyone coming into the school as well as staff. We have provided disposer X packets for at-home disposal. They're here at Town Hall. People can call and request them, and we are diligent about giving them to our senior population. So as soon as a medicine is expired or no longer necessary, you can dispose of it at home safely with the packet. And it renders it useless for someone looking to, misuse a prescription or over-the-counter medication. We are also, we have the Narcan kits. We're going to be placing them in areas of Town Hall and have staff trained. So this way, if the need comes for staff or public, we will have those kits readily available with, trained key people in the buildings. And what we have planned, I won't keep everyone, but just a few things we have planned. We're discussing putting Narcan kits in all pre-K to 8 schools. And that will need a plan and policy implementation, which is why it's taking a little longer. High schools have that in place already. We're also looking to put vape detectors in the middle schools. Some municipalities actually have them in their elementary schools, so it is a reality today. And let's see what else. Okay, we're also looking to fund Hipster, which is an incident and student assistance software, so that all staff can track a child pre-K to 8 for any kind of, it would include bullying, but any kind of issues that are going on or incidents for that child. So this way we can track what they need over time and then also what we see as patterns, and it gives us access to data so that we can better serve our students and have early interventions. We are partnering with Howell Police Department to reinstate CFC's crisis intervention team. That is a 24-hour service, and what they do is they are dispatched to any call. We used to do it just for overdoses, but we're considering doing it as well for DUIs and mental health crisis calls and possibly domestic violence, so that people have support right at the scene so they can have a warm handoff to support and recovery resources. We find that to be very effective. Again, that will come with data, so we'll be able to report back on how that's working out. And then what we're doing, we're having local professionals develop our Howell's own youth sports league athletes and opioids prevention program. And this person will then do presentations to all of our league's coaches. And it will be rolled out over time and by season. So once we hit all the coaches, they can then turnkey the opioid misuse information to parents. And that would include, stuff like going to the dentist and having wisdom teeth pulled and getting an opioid prescription. And also, youth sports injuries to prevent opioid misuse. And then finally, our own mini mental health awareness program. There's mental health first aid available, but that's like an 8-hour program. A lot of people can't devote that time. And there is question, persuade, refer, which is a similar but shorter program. So we're looking to come up with our own mental health program to educate first responders, police, educators, township employees, and community members on mental health and substance use stigma, warning signs, support resources, and how to be supportive to someone and employ active listening. So that's just a few of the things we're doing. Many other things planned, and just wanted to update everybody on that. So. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
I would like to now open for hearing of citizens. Do we have a list? No?
I have a comment that Kathy Novak had sent in.
Okay.
And she asked that I read it, so I will do that. And it has to do with Facebook pics from Team Howell, and the caption on it was, "What started off as an idea from a parent turned into a reality as we held our first charcuterie, canvas, and cookies event. Everyone painted gnomes and did a fabulous job." She thinks that Stephen Fetcher is doing a fabulous job on events, and in particular for Team Howell, it looked like so much fun, and she's glad to see the Echo Lake Pavilion being used more, and I could not agree more with her. I think Stephen does a wonderful job, and it is nice to see Echo Lake being utilized as much. So that's Kathy's comment.
Thank you for reading that. Did you?
Yes, I would like to make
Yeah.
Each person shall give their name and address to the clerk. The council shall be addressed as a collective body and not as individual members. Each person shall have one turn to address the council, and commence shall not exceed a total of 5 minutes. Speakers shall be notified when their time has run, and no time extension shall be permitted. Thank you.
Am I standing the same way?
No, you'll face us.
Wonderful. Okay, so my name is Sherry Rivas, and I reside at 3 Hearth Court. My name is Sherry Rivas, and I reside at 3 Hearth Court. I will be honest, I intended to be more prepared for this comment, so I did not have the time to do that. So I'm going to just go with what I have and hope that everyone can understand what I'm saying. I've been making attempts to be more active in my town, in Howell. I'm registered as a Democrat, but honestly, I've lost faith in both political parties. I was excited that a new council was elected because the bickering and the bipartisanship of the last 2 years was really hard to watch. I'm hoping that this council will put the town and its residents first before any party affiliations, political strategies, or grandstanding. In the past, I believe that the county and state politicians have used the council and their platform to forward their ideas, their objectives, and their version of the truth to reach residents. Using the trust residents have put in you as council members to assist them in forwarding an agenda that has little to do with how. The outcome has been bipartisanship bickering, insults, social media trolling, and who pays the cost are the residents of Howell. I'm hoping we can all agree that putting residents first and ensuring the information provided to you as a council person is for the benefit of Howell and not the benefit of someone else's agenda. I was unable to attend the last council meeting, so I watched the video after the meeting, and I was disappointed in the bipartisan statement and vote regarding Resolution R2392, which was supporting the Township of Middletown complaint with the State Council on local mandates in relation to excess costs associated with motor vehicle thefts, associated crimes resulting from bail reform. I understand as a council person that there are many, many issues and many things that you may have no
knowledge of before becoming a council person and that we've now asked you to take on. This is something that I am familiar with as a social worker. I am not trying to single out this statement, but I do think more information is needed for the residents to understand more facts about pretrial release. And I think it is an example of the bipartisanship that I'm hoping that we can leave behind. The statement begins, in a resolution back in 2017, New Jersey changed their bail policy, throughout the state, coming down from the Democratic Party in Trenton, and regrettably, but not surprisingly, since then, crime has been spiking throughout the state, and more specifically, vehicle thefts in Monmouth County. Here's information about bail reform. In March 2013, the Drug Policy Alliance released a study that confirmed New Jersey's jails are filled with low-risk pretrial detainees who sit in jail simply because they lack small amounts of money necessary to secure release. Specifically, the study revealed that on a single day, more than 5,000 people in New Jersey jails that would have otherwise been allowed to be released on bail, but they remained in jail simply because they lacked the resources to post bail. More than 1,500 of those people had the inability to pay $2,500 or less for their bail. The average time that they spent in jail pre-trial was 10 months. Inspired by this report, in the summer of 2013, New Jersey Supreme Court Justice Stuart Rabner established and chaired a special committee of the Supreme Court, the Joint Committee on Criminal Justice, which included the Attorney General, the Public Defender, private attorneys, judges, court administrators, and representatives of the legislature and the governor's office. They were tasked with examining issues relating to bail and speedy trial. They found that every day someone resided in jail, it cost the county $100. The financial-based system in which the dependents must pay for their release is a dual system error. It leads to a system in which poor defendants who pose little risk to the community are unable to be released because they cannot pay for their release, while more dangerous individuals who have substantial resources are able to be freed. In 2014, during the general election, a ballot question regarding bail reform was approved. The citizens of New Jersey voted for this bail reform, and the New Jersey Constitution was amended to substantially eliminate bail for defendants awaiting trial. Instead, it replaced it with a risk-based provision. During the time of the study, the ballot question, the writing...
Excuse me, I'm sorry, your time has ended.
I would request that we let her continue.
Mayor, our policy doesn't allow for any extensions, but I would welcome any sort of email to the council or members of the township for continuing comments. And if you have any questions, we'll be sure to answer them.
Okay, thank you for the time. I will put this in writing, I will provide it, and I will use social media to get it out to the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mark Parisi, 2 Castle Court. Just to piggyback on what that lady was saying, I've read somewhere that the New Jersey State Council on Local Mandates already addressed the constitutionality of the bail reform back in April of 2017. So I'll ask a general question. I mean, Mayor, I guess maybe you could follow up with the professionals, but is our town going to be utilizing any legal resources or paying any attorneys' fees to work with Middletown regarding this resolution to join in the complaint with Middletown?
I would have to ask Mr. Clark to answer that.
So keep going, because you're using up your time, and it's not a question and answer.
So the other thing that I wanted to speak about was our planning and zoning boards possibly returning in person or pivoting to a hybrid model. This is something that has been discussed here as well as, on social media for quite some time. It's been a few years now that, the pandemic is, kind of wound down, and I think that it's time for us to return to in-person or have hybrid meetings. And to that point, I looked at, what other towns are doing in Monmouth and Ocean County. And back over the summertime, there was approximately 10 municipalities in Monmouth County that were still having virtual planning board meetings. And recently I checked that again, and now it's down to 4. Howell is one of 4 towns in Monmouth County that still holds virtual planning and zoning board meetings.
It's ridiculous.
Howell has a population of 53,000. The other 3 towns in Monmouth County are Deal, New Jersey, Allentown, and Roosevelt. All 3 of those have populations of less than 2,000 people, and I would imagine their land use boards have far less applications than Howell does. I then looked in Ocean County. Every municipality in Ocean County has returned to in-person planning and zoning board meetings. Every single one. So when you look at both Monmouth County and Ocean County, Howell is by far the largest municipality in 2 counties that continues to hold virtual planning and zoning board meetings, and to me, it's inexcusable. And I've heard excuses that, oh, well, we get more done. Well, if that's the case, that they get more done, then how do you explain that every other municipality in Monmouth and Ocean County has returned to in-person meetings? Surely, if we were getting more done, they would have been getting more done, and they would have stayed virtual also. So I cannot wrap my head around it, and I think that, what I'm sharing is a sentiment that's shared by other people in this community. We read it all over the place. And, I know some people are going to say, well, the planning and zoning board, they get to decide by themselves whether or not, where and when they hold their meetings. But that decision is made by the chairman in consultation with the mayor and the township manager. And I think that it's time that maybe, Mayor, you can opine as to what.
I've not been consulted.
Okay. So I think that, conversations need to be had about this. And, and I think that it's time that we rip the Band-Aid off and we come back in person or offer a hybrid model. I mean, Beach Haven, Berkeley, Highlands,
You're 100% correct.
the
I
Brookdale Board
agree
of
with you.
Trustees, the Monmouth County. There are so many places that are holding hybrid meetings where they have a Zoom webinar with the technology that you have in this room, and they allow the public, the board professionals, and, and the board members to the option to attend in person or virtually. I think it's time that, that we really explore if this is possible, that we could do this. And, I think the residents of this town deserve to be able to stand here at this meeting and watch their elected and appointed officials engage in these very important applications that are impacting this community. I think it's time.
Well, I question the confidentialness of the meeting when it's Zoom. You don't know who's there and who's talking to anybody that's there and offering comment.
Well, I would agree. And another thing, I've met a lot of wonderful people sitting in this audience, coming to council meetings, planning board, whatever. On a Zoom meeting with the planning board, I don't know who's there. I have no ability to see or interact with the public. So I thank everybody for their time.
Is there anyone else that wants to come up? Okay, so I'm going to close the public portion. May I have a motion to close?
Motion to close.
May I have a second?
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
So just quickly to address Mr. Parisi's comment, no, we haven't expended any legal funds. I don't know of any intention to, so it's a policy decision, and I suppose it will be advised by council when that policy decision's made. I don't even know if Middletown has in fact filed a lawsuit at this point, so.
At this point, I would like to appoint Mr. John Leggio as a Class 1 member on the planning board as my designee. His term is concurrent with my term, which I guess would end in 24. At this time, we would like to vote on the consent agenda. Does anybody want to vote on anything separately, taken out to vote on separately? So far, the only one that's separate is 127 then. Is that correct?
Yes.
May I have a motion for the consent agenda items?
I'll make a motion to approve R23-113 through and including R23-126.
Second.
Councilwoman Fisher?
Yes, with exception of 23-119, from which I abstain.
Councilman Gager?
Yes.
Councilman Nadell?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes.
Thank you. The consent resolution's passed.
Resolution R23-127, providing for transfers between budget appropriations contained in the 2022 appropriation reserves of the municipal budget.
Need a motion?
Motion to approve.
A second?
Second.
Councilwoman Fisher?
Yes.
Councilman Gager?
Yes.
Councilman Nadell?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes.
Thank you. The resolution passes.
Sorry, the unfinished business. Okay, so we have ordinance 023-04, an ordinance of the Township of Howell, County of Monmouth, State of New Jersey, amending and supplementing Chapter 178 of the Township Code entitled Housing Code Rental Property. I will open this for public comment. If there's no comment, I will close it.
So, Mayor, just one quick comment by me about
Sure.
it. I just want to say thank you to Ms. Rivas, because she did reach out to us with a concern about that particular ordinance. It's okay to vote on it tonight, and we're going to work to address whatever her concerns are, possibly in a future amendment, but it was a really effective way to work with the public, and I appreciate her taking the time to consult with us.
May I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 23-04.
Second.
Councilwoman Fisher?
Yes.
Councilman Gager?
Yes.
Councilman Nadell?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes.
Thank you. The ordinance is adopted.
Ordinance 23-05, an ordinance of the Township of Howell clarifying, implementing ordinance 022-24. I would like to open this for public comment. No questions? I will close, may I have a motion to close the comment?
Motion to close?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
May I have a motion to adopt ordinance 23-05?
Motion to adopt 2305.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second?
Councilwoman Fisher?
Yes.
Councilman Gager?
Yes.
Councilman Nadell?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes.
Thank you. The ordinance is adopted.
There are no new ordinance at this time, so I just wanted to do a quick update. We didn't mention the events for March. I thought you would have mentioned it. The first is PAL registration for camp for K through 5.
Yes, coming up. So everybody, it's available, the information's available online, so they can just jump right on that.
Okay, and there's also an event, the Leprechaun Scavenger Hunt, so that's, information for that is also online, so if you want to do a scavenger hunt.
Hey, Mayor, I don't mean to scream out, but Matilda Howell High School, March 2nd, 3rd, and 4th.
I'm sorry, if you want to, you can come up, please, to the mic. Please.
Matilda at Howell in March 2nd, 3rd, and 4th.
3rd, and 4th, 7 p.m.
Yeah.
Howell High School, Matilda, the play.
It's going to be a nice play.
Okay. Deputy Mayor?
Yes, firstly, I'd like to thank the Farmland Preservation and Matt Howard for the Linney Farm being acquired. I know it's a lengthy process, and I think we've been saying Linney for maybe 3.5, 4 years now. But 26 acres for $100,000 is an excellent price. So we're very happy to see that. And thank you, Matt. I know that you stay on this carefully. And again, the Narcan stations, that'll be in the schools. I'd like to thank Krista Riddle for staying on top of that. I know it's part of her job, but she does it well. And you hear about Narcan more and more every day in our community and throughout the state. So having this available and the staff properly trained, which eventually parents will be trained, so if they have something in their home, they can, use this as well. But thank you so much. It's a shame that we have this need, but the community does have a need, and thank you for addressing it.
Councilwoman?
I only want to say I want to thank Sherry for reaching out to me and getting together to discuss this ordinance, because she brought some things to light that we had no idea about. And it's refreshing to do that. We don't necessarily have to agree on everything, but that's the part I really enjoy. And the doors are open all the time for anyone, so thank you.
Ian?
Spring sports in Howell, I think most of the registrations, if not all, are open right now. I'm a big believer in youth sports. Just get your kids outside, sign them up for some sports teams, get them away from the screens, enjoy, the outside weather, team building, and, just all the stuff they could take away from that.
Thank you. Our next regular meeting date will be Tuesday, March 7th at 6 p.m. for executive and 7 p.m. for regular session. Seeing no further business, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.